My name is Alicia Bennett, and for most of my adult life, I thought I had mastered the art of settling. Settling into routines, settling into expectations, and settling into a marriage that looked perfect from the outside, but felt suffocating on the inside. I married Greg, a man who was steady, predictable, and, if I'm being honest, painfully dull. We lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Madison, Wisconsin, where our lives revolved around the most uninspired routines imaginable. He was the complete opposite of his father, curious, funny, emotionally aware, and just bursting with life. He was the one who pulled me out of my robotic routines with his sharp humor, our late-night conversations, and these random bursts of energy that reminded me what genuine joy felt like. He was my world. But life has this cruel way of forcing the truth into the open. Ethan was crying, his shoulders shaking. Mrs. Carter looked absolutely terrified, like she'd been caught in something she couldn't possibly explain. He looked at me, whispering, "I didn't want you to find out this way." But before he could reveal anything more, my husband Greg walked in, too. The second I saw the look on his face, the fear in his eyes, I knew he already understood whatever this horrible secret was. That night was pure chaos. Greg stormed upstairs without a word. Ethan locked himself in his room, and I just stood on our front porch in the freezing Wisconsin air, the cold biting at my skin, trying to wrap my head around the impossible situation that was unfolding around me. My family was fracturing, and I didn't even know why. The next morning, the world felt fragile, like it could shatter at any moment. While Greg was in the shower, his phone, left on the nightstand, buzzed with a text. The screen lit up with a notification from Mrs. Carter. "We need to tell her before Ethan does." My hands were shaking, but I picked up the phone. I braced myself for the worst. I thought I was about to find proof of an affair. But what I discovered was a secret far, far worse than that. Scrolling through the messages, I found months of conversations between Greg and Mrs. Carter. They were talking about Ethan's emotional state, the consequences of withholding the truth, and the possibility of DNA testing. Then I saw it. One line that shattered my entire world, my entire 16 years of motherhood, in an instant. It read, "He deserves to know who his biological father is." For 16 years, I had believed, without a single doubt, that Greg was Ethan's father. But the truth was, I had unintentionally cheated on him long before our marriage settled into its predictable rhythm. It all came flooding back. 16 years ago, during a temporary breakup with Greg, I spent a single, emotional night with a man I had secretly loved for years, Daniel Carter, Mrs. Carter's older brother. He was leaving for the Navy the very next day. I never saw him again. A few months later, I learned he had died during deployment. Mrs. Carter had recognized Ethan's resemblance to her brother on his very first day of school, and had been carrying this monumental secret for years. And Greg, he had discovered the truth months earlier, after finding old photos of me and Daniel in my mother's attic. He confronted Mrs. Carter, and together, they decided to hide it from me. Greg said he wanted time to protect the family, to figure out what to do, but their whispers didn't stay hidden. Ethan overheard them talking at school, and the weight of that revelation broke him, leading to the tears I walked in on. That night, I confronted Greg. The dam broke. He confessed everything, admitting he was terrified of losing us, of our family falling apart, and he just didn't know how to face the truth. But our argument, our raw and painful conversation, wasn't private. Ethan overheard every single word, and he ran. He ran out of the house, into the freezing night, with nothing but the clothes on his back. We were frantic. We searched for hours, calling his name, our voices lost in the cold, dark air. We finally found him by the lake, huddled against the wind. In his hand, he was clutching an old, faded photograph of me and Daniel. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with a pain I had never seen before. Asked the question that had been haunting him: why didn't you ever tell me who I really was? The days that followed were heavy, suffocating. Our house was filled with guilt, silence, and an emotional distance that felt wider than any ocean. Greg moved into the guest room. Ethan drifted through the halls like a ghost, a stranger in his own home. It was the lowest point of my life. But in that darkness, a tiny flicker of hope remained. We had to try. Slowly, painfully, we started to talk. We apologized. We began to unravel the complex web of secrets and lies together. Greg admitted his emotional neglect, the way he had checked out of our marriage, leaving a void that was easy to fill with routine. Ethan started therapy to process the shock and the feeling of betrayal, and I had to confront the parts of my past I had tried so hard to bury, to accept the choices I made as a young woman. Over time, healing began. We learned that raising a child and being biologically connected are two very different, but equally valid, kinds of love. Greg's love for Ethan wasn't diminished by DNA. It was defined by 16 years of being his dad. We started rebuilding trust, piece by agonizing piece, acknowledging the deep wounds that our secrets had left behind. I'm sharing this story with you today because secrets never stay buried. They grow roots in the darkness, and eventually, they will always rise to the surface, often in the most destructive way possible. If you're watching or listening to this, and you're hiding something, or you feel like something is being hidden from you, please, don't wait for your world to explode like mine did. Be honest, communicate, ask the questions you're afraid to ask. The truth can be painful, but it's the only foundation on which a real, lasting family can be built. ULL, never miss a story that might just help you save your family before it's too late.